It's the Christmas episode, guys.
Dun, 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 dun,
Hey,
dun, dun.
you know, it's fun to see the record button go from green to red. It's very Christmassy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
And it means it's recording.
Yes.
As opposed to when it's blue all the time, that means it's not recording.
Oh, okay.
Purple, you mean?
Do you know that by
Experience?
experience?
Yeah, 2 episodes ago.
Even though it says
Three,
it's recording?
actually 3, technically.
Okay. Are you guys getting in the Christmas spirit?
We are.
Oh man, I've had my Christmas tree up for months.
Oh wow, I've been watching like repeats of like Christmas Vacation and Elf like back to back. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's fun.
We have this
Me too.
stand-up elf in our office at the agency, and they keep moving it around, and they try to freak people out with it because a giant Will Ferrell, life size when you come in your office or close your door. Yeah.
It's great. Love it.
Yes.
So today I thought
It's actually probably actual size Will Ferrell.
it is.
yeah.
Not giant.
Exactly.
He's just giant in real life.
So let's talk today a little bit about, a lot about for the next hour, what we expect for 2021, maybe end of year stuff around the office. You guys do Christmas parties and bonuses, and maybe you don't do bonuses. I don't know, but we can talk about how you do that.
The COVID bonus.
The COVID bonus. All I could. So let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start with the fun stuff. Are you guys having Christmas parties or gatherings?
Man, we are. We're trying to. I think it's one of those things that, for us, a Christmas party is obviously just a celebration of, it's Christmas time and celebrate our staff, and we also usually have good certain relationships and clients and those kind of things sometimes come. Friends of our company, those kind of things. I think Brad and Bob, you guys were there last year, weren't you?
Yes. It was really nice. Thank you so much.
Did you get the shirt?
I did.
See? Okay. So for us,
You going to invite us again this year?
if we have one.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, you probably will be invited. We have. I can tell you the ideas we have.
You should catch up because it's almost December 10th. You don't.
Actually, it's the 11th when we
The
record
11th, I'm
this.
sorry.
You can get day of text.
You're listening to this on Christmas week.
I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know when the date is temporarily set for or tentatively set for. But yeah, no. For us, Christmas parties are. It's also where we kind of do a little bit of look back on the year, and the kind of tradition with us is we've been picking a theme or a word or something that we represents what we learned from this year and going into next year. So there's something traditional and special about what we do at our Christmas party, and so yeah, so we're gonna have it. We're gonna figure out how to have it. I think we're thinking outdoors at Arrington right now.
Wow. It's good.
During the day, actually.
Oh wow.
For all your listeners, that is a beautiful wine vineyard
Over here in Tennessee.
in Tennessee
Beautiful
on the side
views.
of a hill with a wonderful wine that you can
Owned
drink
by
while you're watching the sunset.
legend Kix Brooks.
Yeah,
Kix Brooks.
country music fans, Kix Brooks.
Yeah.
Of Duns and Brooks, Brooks and Dunn, whatever.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, you probably won't be inviting us because that's pretty special, expensive.
No, actually, it's very affordable
is it?
because you going there is actually free. You just have to buy wine.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually awesome from that regard. And
Hopefully you'll have a good day.
we'll probably go there and work a little bit and that kind of thing. But I will invite you guys. But it's gonna be during the day. So that's why I thought
That's fun.
you're only gonna be working anyway, so you might as well work over there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
What you, Brad?
exactly. Well, we are going to have the first time ever a
Zoom Christmas party.
No, we're actually opening. I'm opening my home. We have we have our staff is divided. We have contractors. We have a team of developers that are not here in the same town. So we're having actually a Christmas party at our house for a small gathering for our small team.
Socially
here.
distanced.
Well, yes, I guess so.
Look at Brad now that he's have COVID. He's like,
What is
whatever.
COVID?
Yeah, whatever.
What's COVID? No, it's going to be a small gathering. So we have a couple people that are going to even join us on Zoom because they can't. They decided they're not in town or something. They can't make it. Anyways, for that here in town. Anyways, normally we do a dinner. We go out to restaurants and we do that thing. So normally we do really cool, fun, fancy restaurant stuff, steaks and it's really a celebration of employees at the most part, and the year and wrapping things up. So, but this year's going to look a little different. We're just trying to, my wife and I are trying to come up with some interesting and fun activities for small groups to do, and I think we've got a few things that are going to be fun.
Oh, I like that.
There's going to be
games.
There's going to be prizes. Yes,
We're doing prizes too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
I think Christmas parties are. Hopefully people listening to this are like, I'm sure it's hard to do Christmas parties right now, especially certain parts of the country, like New York, California, those kind of things. But for morale and just, for this entire year, the way it's been, you said celebration of business. Now that for some may be good, for some may be really bad. But it's less about even how it was and like, oh, we did great, so we're going to do a big party. It's more about, I just think, there's been a lot that you've had to manage or people have to manage this year and as a business for sure.
Yeah.
So celebrating that. I don't want to say surviving through because that kind of sounds weak, but thriving through it or making it through it, changing, adjusting, and moving on. I think that's something to celebrate.
This is probably a difficult question that's next for a lot of people, given what's happened in the world. But I think it's important to talk about in the whole context of agency life. A lot of times, end of year like this is when you give bonuses to key people or staff or team or distributions. You guys want to talk about that a little bit? Brad, what is your, it may look different this year, but historically, how do you figure that and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I like to give, as far as bonuses, I like to do two different types of bonuses. There's one bonus that is kind of across the board at some level. So, whatever that is. And then there's special bonuses for those who've kind of risen to that's really helped us become profitable. And it's based off profit. So for us, we look at our financial situation, we look at our profit for the year, we do all of our final estimates, and then I start to look at, who has really put the energy and effort into creating that profit. As a secondary bonus, key people, obviously, folks that have been with me, and the long haul, and then from there I just make decisions. So it's actually different every year. We do things like we have like for our business, we're small, so it's really tough for us to do like we don't do as far as like. Retirement kind of funding and stuff like that. We also decide at that point when to do that for our employees. Like we do an SEP and things. So we'll do contributions into SEPs and things. So it's all based on our financial situation, but we do as much as we can.
Can we do an investment show with Brad? Seriously,
for
agency investment show with Brad? Because I'm curious to know. I've got questions around how you do that, and I don't want to take us off on a tangent. But is it vested? Is it immediate? Like, do they have to stick around a little bit to gain access to it?
Well,
we can say that from the episode.
So what we should talk a little bit about it because I think people probably are interested. So for us, we do a simplified employment pension. And you have to work for a company, just by law, you have to work for a company for 3 years before you can actually be eligible. But the thing about that is you have to pay the same percentage. So anyone who would work for you for more than 3 years, who you pay full-time on W-2, you would have to pay a percentage of their W-2 across the board. So that means if you get a W-2 yourself as a business owner, I'm an S-Corp, so I can actually pay myself through W-2 like an employee. I have to pay myself the same, I have to pay into an SEP the same percentage across the board for anyone who's worked for 3 years. So it's a little bit challenging because not everyone would be able to get it until they've been there for 3 years as a full-time employee. So there's different things that you definitely talk to your a CP,
investment
your CPA,
advisor.
or investment advisor, especially your CPA, because it really does hit your bottom line too.
Yeah, I know. We went pretty heavily into that, and one of the things that was that I wanted to do was kind of vest it in a way. And I know you can do some vesting so that, like, it's not so you gradually get access to it over time. Like if you got it all and then left, you just as a retention technique. And I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll stay on topic. We should do a show about structures and investments and business structures and those kind of things, because I think we all have different reasons why we've come to those.
Yeah, but I can tell you this: the bonuses are based off how we did financially, obviously, and probably most companies and businesses, small businesses. Again, I'm speaking from a small business. This is, our business is not. We don't have a lot of employees, and at this point right now, we're actually the leanest that we've been in a few years, which we're trying to kind of maintain that a little bit to see if we can maintain that through the new year a little bit until we kind of get a little bit better understanding the next 6 months of the way things look. But with that being said, back in March, I thought that, I was nervous, like all of us probably when COVID hit, like, oh man, what's going on? And are we going to be able to weather it? And it's turned out that we've probably had one of the better years financially. We haven't made as much revenue, but our profits have been a lot stronger only because we've been so lean. And it's taken a lot of work from people to do that. I wouldn't say overworked, but I would say that people had to be very committed and very efficient, and we did it. And so, with that being said, it's been a good year, and that's been for us overall. It's
a lot to be grateful for this time of year. How about you, Ken? How about you? Do you guys do bonuses?
We do. It's very similar, and we take profit, and we have a percentage profit that goes into a pool, and then that's distributed across our team. And there's weight. There's just a weight on like a weighting of different people, like based on how much contributed to profit and some of those kind of key roles and those kind of things. And so that's how we do it. And I'm just a big believer on. This may sound like strict, but I apply it to myself. Like in my personal life, I always have like the discipline of like doing a great job is sort of like part of the job description. Like you don't get bonused for doing a great job. Like I think you get above and beyond and be able to keep your job, including myself, when you can add real value that creates profit. Yeah. Right. Like, and so, I think that corporate America has and just our society in a little bit has sort of like degraded the idea that you as an employee or a person inside of a company is actually connected to the revenue of that company and the profitability of that company and the profitability of your clients, and that also trickles down to you obviously in keeping your job and being paid and that kind of thing. And I think that I feel like that's kind of degraded a little bit, and so I just think it's a wise discipline to make sure that you're aware of, okay, I need to do a great job. I need to contribute value. And if I do that, then that comes back to me just in life. Anyway, so in our own way, that's kind of how we've just structured our finances and bonuses and that kind of thing.
Being a smaller agency and not a large corporation or a company, I talk to people that, work even at a high level of corporations and they don't, like I ask them, they're kind of transparent about their bonuses, and there's a benefit of working for a small business because I probably pay 10 times the bonus that a big, large corporation that you think would pay just because they have so many employees.
Same.
And so, there's that, and that's a benefit maybe of working for a small business. So you might think
especially when you can be small and mighty,
And to me, if I have somebody that has really added to the bottom line, like really added to our bottom, like without them, our profits would not be. I want to pay them for that. Like I want them to make sure that they understand that I value that and that's something that they've done and worked hard for. And so, with that being said, it is hard to be a small business owner, but at the same time, maybe as an employee, there might be some other benefits. But yeah, I definitely talk across the board trying to understand what the normal kind of Christmas bonus is. It's not the Clark Griswold Jelly of the Month Club. You know what I mean? It's like we all see those things and we're like, oh man, and a lot of people, especially in this industry, we have podcasts that we've talked about that before, about how you can be used and abused in this industry. And so I just want to make sure that I treat people hopefully different than what they're experienced in other places.
What about clients? Are you guys doing anything special for clients? I know I've gotten few little gifts from clients, which is
you're
really
drinking
nice.
out of one right now.
Yeah, it's really nice. Roguefishing.co. Shout out.
Yeah.
What do you think of it's funny because there's like clients that we send Christmas gifts to our clients, and they send Christmas gifts to us. But some of our long-term clients, it's almost a wash. It's like you get a gift, and then they get a gift. Like you give them a basket, they give a gift basket, and it's kind of
You gotta outdo them every year.
It's almost like expected. You know what I mean? So the point where we're like, hey, we haven't got your gift basket yet. Oh, it's coming.
It's in the mail. You guys send stuff out, Ken?
Yeah, we do. We're probably going to. We've done this a few times, like send out in January, just because. I know people get overwhelmed with like gifts, and just to change it up. Honestly, that's really the only reason.
It's really been a tough year this year because we have our clients are distributed at home, a lot of them. So we're sending like normally we send bigger gifts to one location, everybody can share it, or like let's say it's a gift thing, basket of food or something. This way, you got to send like micro gifts to everyone. We even have somebody in Canada we have to ship to. And
we have a lot in Canada, actually.
Yeah, and so like
a couple in England and that kind of thing. And
so that's tougher.
Try getting it over there.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
Do you still have one in China too?
Yeah. And getting it. Yeah, no. We're just gonna say, hey, the factory that makes this, can you just hand deliver it?
That's awesome.
No, we do, but we probably will do them a little bit later. And we've done that before. Just to do something different.
Yeah.
And,
be careful shipping international. We had like a $40 gift that was like $90 in shipping.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I know. Fortunately we do a lot of shipping.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I know, but, we're doing that.
Anything else this time of year, guys? I know this is the time of year also you kind of like evaluate how the year was, what 21 is going to look like.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
In early December, actually November, we start to really look at the next 6 months, and see where we are. And then my financial controller and myself, we meet with our CPA, and we go over our numbers for the final year, trying to, part of it is I'm the sole business owner, so there's a lot of, in my business, I'm personally very tied to it financially. So it's kind of a personal financial advisor. We try to figure out what we're doing, how we're going to wrap up the end of the year, what things look like in the horizon. And then we go through and we really start to look at, okay, what is our cash flow for the next 6 months to a year to 8 months? What do we need to do to meet financial objectives? So at that point, that's really a lot of what I do in December, it feels like. And then just wrapping up with clients and trying to make sure that they get done what they need. A lot of clients seem to always be just really wanting to relax during Christmas and New Year and just really get everything off their plate. So there's a lot of moving things off their plate onto ours in December, trying to wrap things up and get things finalized for their year. A lot of the clients that we have, they may or may not have their fiscal year end in December 31st. Most of them probably don't, which is probably a benefit for us because we're not worrying about like tying up their financial end as much. But I would say same. The year's been like a roller coaster in a lot of ways. I mean, typically December is where we're executing. We're finishing executing, obviously, right off of the Black Friday kind of season, and even going into December, that's kind of like slowly teetering off towards Christmas. And people are generally, the companies that we serve are not focused on starting new projects, and so we're executing. So there's a lot of execution, but there's not a lot of new business typically, and that's been the case this year as well. Sometimes that's frustrating because kind of going out of the year, you want to kind of finish strong. And one of the things that, just to be honest with you, that I've been wrestling with is how do you, in our industry, that's typically not the way it goes, at least for as a provider to that industry.
to the retail and e-commerce industry. And so figuring out how to mitigate that and actually make that better. But this year's been so weird that's kind of, we didn't think that was going to happen, then ended up being the case. And so, we're looking at next year. Typically at this point, I'm looking at, I'm like kind of like Brad. I'm doing a lot of sort of finances right now, trying to figure out where profit's going to land so that you can plan appropriately from a tax planning standpoint. But really, I'm trying to look at next year and figure out how do we adjust based on what we've seen and know. What strategic changes are there? And that's been a bit of a challenge, because it's felt like there's a false sense, like I'm not sure what things are an illusion and what aren't, right? In March, like you said, like business was really, there was a period where, people weren't making decisions. It didn't feel like companies were making decisions, even in an industry for us where it was like actually booming. And then it exploded, right? We had this big rush of people, especially in the e-commerce world, like looking to transition. They're probably late adopters, maybe the less risky type folk, and they're moving into that. And the people that are already into it are investing to get ready for Q4. So that was kind of like a rush. And then kind of like then it's sort of lulled a little bit in December as well. So, I'm trying to think into next year. My biggest thing, to be honest with you, and just sort of like stream of thought, but I'm looking at how we diversify even more aggressively across the different types of sales channels. And I've talked about that before. But to me, just being service based is risky to me. There's lots of companies that are. I'm not saying it's risky in general, but to me it seems risky, and so we're trying to figure out how we diversify across that. We already are, but even more, and so that we can be less on the peaks and valleys of just the seasonality and more consistent across.
That's good.
I'm not sure what that means next year.
So you're saying you're trying to design next year to be more stable, or more predictable?
More predictable, more consistent. Yeah. Than 2020. Can you believe that?
Wow. I feel though there's something I'm feeling. It's an emotional feeling that something's going to explode like next year.
Like good or bad?
Good way. No, it's very positive. I don't know what it is. It's like, I feel like right now I'm just kind of holding back and waiting. And being kind of lean, but I do have an expectation for 21.
That's good.
And maybe because
I feel that too. And I agree with you. By the way, we're trying to stay very lean too. Like there's no, we're being really conservative about how we hire and where just trimming back expenses, doing all that kind of stuff because you have to balance the year, number one, and it's weird to see how things are going, but also. I don't know. I think you need to be ready to act in a strong way when the opportunity comes up.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say, I think we all feel that. And for me, it's kind of like it can't get any worse, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like 5 vaccines. So COVID is going to get tackled some way, somehow, right? So it feels like that monster is going to die at some point in 21. So that's a good thing. And then I also feel like too, because we're going to get to come, as a result, we're going to get to come out of the house and we're going to get to see people more and we're going to get to do things. I don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully sometime this next year. And that's got to affect business in lots of ways. And I also feel like there's a lot of innovation that has taken place. From the top down, I see whether it's Elon Musk or Amazon or Apple, and then you start going down the list, even small startups during this past year that have innovated and done some really cool things. I agree with you. I think 2021 is going to be really, really interesting. And I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. And I think, I think part of it is what you mentioned is that one benefit of COVID is it helped us all to understand that, the fear of COVID and how it affects our business. It's really only been about 8 months, of kind of unsure and unpredictability. And that makes people nervous and it's hard. But I think that's helped me personally kind of go, you know what? it's helped me get over other things, where I'm more like, yeah, it'll probably just go away. I mean, eventually it's not going to be like this. One of the things I was doing this morning is I was listening to the CEO of Airbnb, because their stock went public yesterday. It opened up like 60 something, and it's like 100, went to 160 and this within hours. And they were doing a live interview with him while the stock was actually doing that, and he didn't even know it went to that high. And that valuated the business at over $100 billion. And so he's like, you don't understand. Back when COVID hit, our business dropped 80%. So for the first 2 or 3 months, we were dropped 80%. We had to let go 25% of our staff. I thought I was done. Like, this is it. My business is going to be destroyed by COVID. It's big business of Airbnb. And then he says it's amazing now then to look at after, like in the summer, we started to get a resurgence of business because people wanted to get out and hotels were shut down. And then he said, look at now I went public and now I have a company that's worth over $100 billion. He's just flabbergasted. And so if you're in a position right now where you're still hurting from COVID in your business, you just never know. I mean, this was like 3 or 4 months. He went from the lowest low to the highest high.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of feel a little bit like, this year was kind of low in times and hard in areas and unpredictable, especially for me, because I like to see the roadmap. I like to see where I'm going. I don't like to go blind too long. But I do feel like it's helped me kind of just relax a little bit and be okay with a little bit unpredictability. And I feel like that's going to go into 2021 in a positive way. So that's just a word of encouragement.
No, I mean,
y'all.
I love that story, and and I can feel the positivity from you. And I think honestly, with any of these things, like COVID is just one, or 2020 in general was, from a business standpoint, also for a personal standpoint, was an example of just it's disruption. It's a challenge that is one of probably many that are going to come up as you walk this earth. And so I think that as a business owner, and again, I think this probably applies to personal life, but I think to me, the real struggle, the real challenge is like keeping your mind focused on opportunity, like staying in the offensive mindset, not being dumb, but staying in the offensive mindset, and the hard part about that is it's easy. It's so easy to stay in the offensive mindset when you crap gold, for the last 15 years, right? The hard part is staying in the offensive mindset when it's actually, some would coin it winter. I think that's going to be part of our new phrase for the year, by the way. I'll hint at it. But
are you going to do a t-shirt with that phrase?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Kidding me, man? Here's one right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, but in all seriousness, I think that when this is not my concept, but I believe in it. When you're struggling, when there's like kind of, you're in that season of things peeling back, it's much harder to stay in the offensive mindset because you've got to be defensive. Like, so you have to do things like trim down, get lean, like the smart things, which kind of take you out of that. But then you have to somehow still maintain that healthy balance of being forward focused, offensive driven, so that you're able to act on opportunity and you're not just hunkering down for the winter that eventually will kill you over time, and so I just find it so interesting when you hear stories like that. The CEO of Airbnb just kind of being able to tell you, because I can imagine how you would feel like with a business that big, right? And it gets just chopped off and everything's getting shut down. You're like, this may never open up again.
Yeah,
like,
it could be years.
And
now's the time. We've talked about this, I think, on our last show or one of them. This time of year, even early January, you can really serve and help your customers that will pay that's part of this offensive strategy that can pay dividends in 21, because they're going to remember.
Don't be stingy.
Yeah, exactly.
If at all possible. I think you have to sometimes, like there's profitability, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, don't be dumb, but they're going to, when we do come out of this and when many of our clients start to prosper more, they're going to remember who was there during the winter. They're going to remember who threw them a bone, that stayed on, that helped them out. I really believe that. So it's a great time right now, if you can afford to do that. And if that's part of your strategy, which it should be, it's a great time to serve clients in a really intentional way.
Yeah.
So that when they do have the money and they're thinking about the budgets in 21, because it's going to come back, they're going to remember that.
And don't be afraid to do something that may seem against the norm. So like peeling back is like what most people are doing, but if you have an opportunity and an opportunity with a great person, like for instance, we've been trying to keep ourselves as lean as possible, but a couple people have come to us looking for work, and they're high quality people. And my philosophy has been like, man, having to find someone when you need it is so hard. You rarely get the right character, because the right character is really the hard thing. And so when I find someone with the right character, I try and find a spot for them, even if it's small. And that's happened. And it's sort of been in my mind, I'm like, it's not really the best thing to do this, but it's almost like, you got to buy low, sell high, right, Brad? Is that right?
Unless you're shorting.
Unless you're shorting it. And in a way, when there's all those opportunities where you almost can't afford it, but you can find a way to do it in a safe way. Maybe I found people are way more open to the reality of just taking a little bit and just coming on part time and then growing over time, because it's better than nothing, or they want to be a part of something. Anyway, we've had those situations where it's not like necessarily smart to be hiring in the conventional sense, but if there are those opportunities, I think you got to look long and hard at them and maybe take them, because those opportunities only come around in winter.
That's
like
right.
they don't come around when things are going.
It's good. Make that connection. So what about end of year, December, closing out your books? Are you guys trying to get your collections all in, encouraging clients to pay before the end of the year, all that good stuff?
Well, it's interesting you say that. Yes, for the most part. This year has been tough, really.
Hiring Guido, what do you guys
Guido,
do?
yeah. Forget about it. Anyways, it's been a tough year this year. We've noticed that some of our clients have just had a harder time paying their bills on time, and they've been trying to spread out their money a little bit. I get it 100%. So I'm not trying to fault them for it. We try to work with them as much as possible to do that so that they can be healthy too. Because we are on a cash basis, I don't know about your business.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're on a cash basis business, and so when we deposit a check, let's say, or whatever, or if we get an ACH payment, if it goes right into our bank account, it's by the end of the year, December 31st, it's considered income for this year. If it goes into January 1st, it's considered next year. So there has been times where we will be okay with a check not coming in on time in December, just because if we felt like, okay, we don't want to pay taxes on profits that we may use next year. So with that being said, yeah, it is kind of, for the most part, in December, we're not worried as much about checks coming in or being paid on time a lot of the times. This year is one of those times where if we can move a few things over to next year, that'd be good.
Yeah, I didn't know if
Over to next year,
yeah, and put it on next year's books.
I didn't know if you guys I know in the agency where I'm working right now, they're working real hard to collect so that they can actually, have and put on their books what their earnings were in hand for 2020.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I always take the approach of being aggressive on making sure we're paid up, no matter what.
Well, you guys are all electronic anyway.
Yeah, and that's part of it.
Yeah, you're definitely I learning tricks from
Really?
you. Yeah,
Have you instituted some of that?
It's funny. We do get a lot of our payments.
This is the perfect excuse right now, because
I know. Well, we've been getting our payments through ACH for most of our clients. We do have a couple of clients that still like to pay us old school check.
Okay.
Yeah, and those are the ones that you're like, the due date on the invoice is not the date you send out the check.
Yes.
Because it takes a week now to get it. We're supposed to have it in hand.
Yeah. Let me school you on how the mail works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're electronic, and so there's not usually much that we do there.
Yeah, go back to our early episodes where Ken explains that.
Oh man,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I love that. To me, that was the change in our business.
No,
The cha-
no paper checks.
But no, you have been an inspiration this year, and I'd say 80% now pay.
That's awesome.
Direct.
I mean,
That's
to
huge.
me, it is the biggest risk to an agency business. I've heard it over and over again. I've heard
Yeah.
agencies go out of business. I had a mentor back a long time ago that said the biggest risk to your business is receivables. Like if you can't get your receivables in order, that you'll go out of business thinking you're making money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
And so get on electronic payment because it's better for the world. Like
Yes, saves paper.
It's better for all of us too.
Yeah.
Like
the mailman though might lose his job after a while, but
Oh, mailman, yeah.
Yeah.
I like my mailman, but in general, they've got some problems that they have to fix.
Is Russell still around here? Or do you guys have a different one?
No, I don't have Russell here. I
Okay.
know Russell. I remember Russell. Yeah, no, but he hasn't served this building. But anyway, that kind of area is not as much of a focus of like delaying.
Yeah.
But man, electronic payments. If anyone's listening to this and there's a first episode or one of the first, and you do one thing with your agency next year, go to electronic payments. Just make the step. You may be like, no one's ever going to pay that. They will.
Yeah.
If you're good enough at what you do, and you have reason enough, especially now with the COVID thing, it
makes
it's
it
really
easier.
so easy because there's
Yeah.
there's so much logic behind it now.
The client, one of our clients who just can't do it, they're still on a paper check, double signature.
They don't have a bank.
Yeah, they have a bank. No, I know they can do it. Trust me, I get
There is
it.
no can't, Brad.
I know there's no can't in electronic payments. I get it, but literally we have asked them about 5 times to the point where they're like, "Shut up! You're not going to get it that way.
Yeah.
We're not changing our processes for
It is
you."
it is harder to transition. I found that than it's much easier to start.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have I think we have one very old client, and it's actually a relative of one of our staff. So we're actually totally fine with that. We've made everyone else move, and he is like clockwork. He's on time no matter what, and it's great. But otherwise,
Yeah.
and all electronic. So do that. If you do one thing next year, anyone listening to this, move
that's
to
good.
that. And if you have questions about it, email me. I believe it helps everyone. It makes my life easier if all agencies are doing electronic payments.
Yep.
I think in one of our early episodes, you talk about that process. We probably spend a half an hour talking about.
I mean, oh yeah, I try and lay it out, and I've done it in other forms as well. But if you go to a restaurant, you don't get an invoice and pay it in 30 days and maybe 90 days. Like you pay it right away, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Seriously,
90.
And that's a
yeah.
service, right?
it's I think everything's a service personally, but yes, it's a service.
Well, you really do become a big credit card because you are. I mean, listen, some of our clients are paying 60 to 90 days, especially with COVID, and they've had to make some transitions. And man, that's a whole quarter of your business, like a whole quarter. When do you? I mean, there's very few times in life that I buy something and then don't pay for it for a quarter.
Yeah, that is really interesting way to look at things. Like you said, is like you don't really do that in any other business or company.
That's not the Ramsey way.
Well, I mean,
not the Ramsey way.
but it's also think about your utilities, right? They're giving you
Yeah.
a service. If you don't pay, you're late.
In 30 days.
Yeah, they're some of them will be lenient, but most of you're going to get your water turned off, your heat turned off.
I have my water bills sent to my PO box, which now I get to check a lot less, and so I missed getting a bill a few months ago. They called me. They left a message. They were like, "We're starting your water off tomorrow unless we get paid." And this is the middle of the coronavirus. And I called them up. I'm like, "Hey, can I pay you? Can I send it?" Like I said, I pay through banks. I'm like, "Can I send it today and let it get there, and it'll get there tomorrow?" They're like, "If it's not here today, we're shutting your water off."
Oh, boy.
I'm like, so if the water company in the middle of coronavirus or whatever COVID,
Did you tell them you have a friend named Guido?
yeah. I no, but I do.
Just too bad he lives in New York.
Yeah, he lives in New York.
Stuck it there now.
He's locked inside right now. Anyway, that's all a joke. Anyway, if that happened,
No, it's not.
You got to clarify that.
I get that it's hard, but
If they can do it.
I think one of the challenges with being a small business is actually enforcing agreements and then and also keeping a relationship. I get that that's hard. It's not easy for us or anyone. I think there has to be a balance, but you have to make sure you're not getting steamrolled, and you're also you're also being kind and empathetic. And so it's a balance. But I do think that, hey, look, if the water company can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. And I think that's, what I've noticed is the more buttoned up you are, especially like, for instance, using when you're doing agreements or other things, when you do electronic signatures and you send through electronic signature software and things like that, it definitely puts people more at point. Like, ooh, I've got to kind of, this is real. Like I'm committing to something here.
And can I tell you something simple, like a little hack that helps a lot? And it's,
Tell us.
Yeah, is, you know that feeling when you check out on a website, you buy something, and it's like, I know that this was a process. I went through a process here. Like I couldn't talk to anyone. It wasn't different for me. I didn't say, hey, can I have this, shirt? But like, can you make like the arms like slightly smaller? And no, it was, you walked through a process, and there was no appearance of flexibility. When the more process oriented from an initial communication standpoint, when it's like, this is systemized, you're not just calling, Joe or Jane agency, small agency, and saying, hey, I want to customize all this. Hey, can we just do this over text message? Can we do this? And what that is the mindset of like full customization, no process, does not lend itself to taking electronic payment immediately.
Yeah.
If you can make it seem like, and it's not even an illusion, it's real, but like systemize what you have, and then even through the way you email, like automated emails and those kind of things, it makes someone it just leads them down the path to entering their information and doing it the way it should be done. And we found just simple things like that help it a ton. Is like once they call, Ken, and they're like chatting with Ken and buddy with Ken, and then then the invoice comes, it's easier to say, hey, can I pay with check, by the way, with this? And then you have to have a conversation to say, no, not really, it doesn't work. But if you, I'm not saying don't maintain a relationship, but if you systemize some of that stuff that really shouldn't be human oriented anyway, I don't think, like those emails, the payment stuff, the contracts, all those things, you just kind of systemize them and make them, make it feel like you're going through a process. I found it way easier to, they just fall into the funnel that they fall into when they pay for anything else.
Do you find that that some of your clients seem different depending on their age? For instance, if they're more a millennial client, they're used to those processes and they work a little bit more efficiently. If they're older, they're like, hey, let's sit down and talk about it. We're going to negotiate. Like, I feel like an older generation still wants to kind of negotiate things.
The art of the deal.
The art of the deal, where younger folks, they just they're used to more processes, and obviously online and things of that have kind of given them the runway for that. But
I totally hear you. I do think that they're like a hybrid of both. I think there's a best of both worlds that I think should be shot for, because I think that there's a benefit to the human side of it. There's a benefit to the system side of it. But I would say, like, when the hardest times is when we're working with someone who's more traditional. They've worked with traditional agencies a lot. They're in bigger businesses. They're a brand that kind of is not used to this. That's a little bit more challenging, but I do find that everyone in the world knows the difference between buying online and buying through invoice. And I find that if you drop yourself on one side of the coin, it even works easier there. It's like, no, this is not like the old ad agency. This is more like a subscription that you pay for.
Right.
Yeah.
We've actually had that conversation, because that's the truth.
That's a good way to try to reorient your clients.
It's fun. It's interesting. It's almost like you get pigeonholed, and you just have to figure out how you make sure you're pigeonholed on one side versus the other side.
So 2 things that I just got from you, and there's something that can be implemented next year, but start thinking about it now in December, is 1, go to all electronic payments, and 2, create strong systems so that your clients know onboarding, know what to expect, and it just helps your efficiencies, and that includes payments and and everything. So
we've talked through some of those tools. So anyone that has any questions, like reach out to us.
Yeah.
We've got them.
Do you take this time at all, Ken and Bob, too, is to look at your processes and try to, because it's a new year, that's when you typically want to introduce new processes into your staff because they're more open to new things, I think. And do you start looking at different systems and processes, or look at your process and go, there's a few issues I've been thinking about changing and now maybe is the time? Do you guys do that?
Yeah, one of the things that I've been doing, at 5x5, we're a little bit bigger, medium-sized agency. And so they have different departments that we work in. And so for me, as heading up the digital side, what I've been looking at this month is how can we be more integrative and less siloed inside the agency, which I know in a smaller agency, it's not something to think about. But I would really encourage, no matter if you're a solopreneur all the way to working inside of a larger agency, everything in between, is keep pushing for integration, keep pushing for digital, keep pushing for those things that I think as time goes by, as new innovation comes, there is no siloed department skill, anything like that. And so for me, the way that I'm doing that is I'm spending more time with the creative department, spending more time with development, programmers, spending more time with the research team, whatever it may be that you work with. And this could be even your contractors. You pull them all together and say, hey, we're going to have a half-day meeting and look at 2021 and think about how can we be more integrative? How can we be more thinking about ways that we can shore up our processes, cut our time down, be more profitable. And that could be as simple as, working with a development team and educating them on, how to do good SEO when they're building out a WordPress site so that the marketing team doesn't have to come behind them and fix that. Or working with the creative team and say, hey, can we take some of that in-house to maybe our marketers, and you create templates so that we can move quicker on creating ads or whatever it may be. So I would just encourage everybody, as you look forward to 2021, just be thinking about how you can be more efficient, create more processes, and be more integrative in everything that you do.
That's good.
I love that because I think that agencies, I don't know if you disagree with it, I think they suffer from maybe going too slow sometimes.
Yes.
Right. Like there's a lot of, the creative guys in charge of this and the developer in charge of this, but then, and then it gets to the client's like, no, change all this. So then it goes back through the whole thing.
Whole process, right?
Or we're marketing and we can't be agile enough because like the designer's got to do that. And
right.
I think that that's really good from a quality standpoint. I think there's obviously a benefit that comes from that. I think the challenge is the world has advanced beyond that to some degree.
Yes.
I'm not saying you get the same quality, but people can go on Canva and like start creating stuff that looks really good. So how do you get better quality than that, but also take the efficiencies from that? I've been looking at that quite a bit because I think that removing those inefficiencies is like where real money is too. Like, first of all, speed. Some say speed trumps everything in business. But speed to market is really fast. So a marketer being able to adjust something on their themselves versus having to wait 2 days for a designer is a big deal, especially when you're trying to like do hundreds of ads or whatever.
But you don't have to forfeit quality and what the client's paying you for. You gave an example of a Canva there. Great example. Typically maybe your process is development, creative director has to create and approve everything and then give it to dev to put into the site, and then gets to digital marketing, and then they use it. Well, why can't the creative and the art director come and say, hey, we're going to create 10 different templates inside Canva that are approved. Right. Here are the elements, and they're going to spend the time doing that. And then digital marketers, the creative team, the marketing team, even the dev team can have access to that and not have to go back through that whole process again. Absolutely. It's just use the technology and integrate.
And it depends on, I think it's a mindset, but like it depends on, the people that you have, because if you're purists that kind of hold on to the old way, like, hate that kind of thing. But you do have to have people that are willing to adopt new things to make things better and still get the better quality. I think that is a good point to go into 21 with.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys one last question real quick. And Bob, especially, you have this like crystal ball for predictions of where agencies go and where industries go. So what does 2021 look like for agencies? Like, what, in your guys' opinion, like globally, should agencies be focusing on as the entire thing adapts, the industry adapts? It's been adapting, but this year has changed the landscape a ton. Like, what you used to say, they need to be media companies.
Yeah. Well, I think
that still true?
Yes, absolutely. I think that 21 is going to be a great year for agencies. I don't know that I would emphasize it that much at the beginning of 20, but the world has changed. So more people are buying online. More people are using e-commerce. That's only going to increase. The globalization of the world is becoming more and more, connected and tiny. So the opportunities for agencies in e-commerce, in creative, in digital, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation and startups in 2021. But going back to this media idea, yes, see yourselves as a production. You are producers of media. You don't sell media. You should be producing and creating media. And I think that's where you need to be looking at is, how do I use video? How do I create video? How do I bring production in-house like you have here? How do I create audio and podcast? How do I think also in 2021, agencies need to be thinking about, how do I repurpose content and creative that I create for my client? Because it's only going to increase. What did we see in 2021? We saw TikTok, in 2020, we saw TikTok explode. We saw other platforms start to take off. We saw, what's the conservative one that just kind of is blowing up? The one that everyone started
Parler.
Parler, yeah. So you've got I think that will continue to expand in 21. So repurposing that type of content, but it's going to be a good year. I think. I don't have anything other than that, but other than it's going to be good, and digital is going to continue to grow and explode. I would the one
it's
thing
get more complicated.
It's going to get more complicated,
which is a good thing for agencies.
I think here's my prediction. Here's a big one. I think Facebook is going to go through some major changes. I think saturation of advertising on Facebook. I think we're going to see a big migration onto alternative platforms. We've had a duopoly for years.
Right.
Google and Facebook ads. I think you're going to see more platforms, more programmatic advertising, more things like Outbrain and Taboola, really people focusing on that type of content. So I think get an early jump on that and be thinking, if Facebook went away and I didn't have to depend on it at all in 2021, what would I replace that with? I think that's the biggest prediction.
Yeah, that's good. We'll look back in a few episodes and see if you're right.
Yeah.
One of the things that my mindset is always changing. That's
a good thing.
Stay with me. You might get confused. But I've started not looking to the future as much as looking at the now. And I've learned a couple things this year, which has been interesting. And every year I tend to just grow in areas, but I want to focus on two things. What is making my customer money and what is making us money, if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint. And what I've noticed is when I plan too far ahead and start to put too much energy into capital projects that I won't see the return on investment for 2 or 3 years, it doesn't actually work out, because 2 or 3 years is much different, and we move too faster. Things change that I have to learn to look at a shorter term for me. This is my own personal view. Again, and look at what's immediately making money for my customer and immediately making money for me. And when I mean immediately, within the next year or 6 months, for our business, and then be able and available to pivot. Because what I've learned is that it's really now like flying that plane without it being built. Like, you're flying a plane and you just have to you have to pivot so much more and learn so much on the fly and make those decisions. Because from a financial perspective, I've never seen much of a return on investment for our agency when we plan too far ahead. We start to position ourselves for 2 or 3 years down the road of growth, because the growth is different and the whole climate changes. So that's just my point of view. For 2021, mine is be lean and be able to pivot and really see where follow the money. I mean, and that's really good. I mean, I know that sounds kind of like money focused, but financially, we need to make sure our
business
clients
is there to make money.
Our clients never say, "Hey guys, we want to hire you so that we make money 3 years down the road." Yeah, they're thinking that. That's what their goal is. But it's always like now. It's like we need to have conversions now. We need to make sales now. Now. It's never like 3 years on the road, we're going to spend all this money and hopefully in 3 years we're going to see the results. So for our clients, they need to see immediate returns, and we need to see immediate returns too. Otherwise, we're not going to be in business 3 years from now. So that's kind of my focus this year, and I think just kind of being more hyper focused on that and lean.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think those are great. I'm gonna watch back and take notes on that. I'm taking mental notes. I would say, just to add to that, in my mind, I think agencies have to get more efficient with how they produce their products. So I think that like I've said this before, I think an agency's product is experience and knowledge. One way to deliver that is service, like one-on-one services. But I believe you should expand beyond believing that your product is that service itself. And I think thinking of other ways to deliver that creates efficiencies, creates stability, those kind of things. I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is agencies need to get into the 21st century with like being tech-based and being digital, like we call, they should be the best, but like when you talk about the systems of the old school and all this, like the invoicing and the inefficiency of like all, how we do things sometimes, I really think that that's going to hurt agencies and any business going forward, because things are just moving so much faster, and people that have never adopted technology or have adopted them. I think if agencies hold on to old school systems, I think that's going to be really hard for them to adapt and continue that way. Personally, I think that the last thing is, I think there's going to be, like Bob, you said, I think now more than ever, and probably going into 21 more than ever, in my opinion, more of a need for agencies because the landscape is complicated. And I do think that we're going to see major changes in digital marketing. I've been saying that for at least a couple years, just not because I see it, just because I'm like, I know that we know everything's cyclical, and we know that right now when it's in a digital world, like Facebook and Google have like you said, a duopoly on all the advertising. That can't last forever. And now we're seeing rumblings of that changing. And that's a really good thing. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to get a lot harder to advertise effectively. And that's where agencies come in, because
everybody has learned Facebook and Google now you go, oh, what about these other 10 platforms? People are like, I never heard of that. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And I'm speaking this to myself because I do think there's a challenge. I think there are a lot of companies, especially in the e-commerce world, that are like 80 to 90% dependent on Facebook ads. And I think we're going to see some disruption there. I think we're going to see some pain in like the revenue department there. And I've been talking about that to our clients. But I think that there's probably going to be some sort of disruption in that area. And I think it's probably going to be a little painful at first, but I think it's going to be better for everyone in the end. So I see that. I don't know if that'll happen in 21, but I think that's happening now.
I think if you can just get a jump on that and start, I've seen conversion rates just as high. And actually, for most clients, the conversion rates on Facebook are not as strong as other platforms. So anyway, we'll save that for another time.
I mean, people are like, it's not easy. It doesn't work, or it's not easy, or I don't get immediate revenue. I mean, like business isn't easy. Yeah. Like I think we've gotten addicted to this idea of like easy revenue in certain industries, especially the e-commerce world. And I don't think that's a good thing. And I think that might be changing. And I think the addiction to that, or the illusion that, hey, I can just throw an ad up and make money. I I think that has maybe put people asleep a little bit. They're not aware of some of these things.
Yeah, the ROAS thing I think is deceptive, and we've talked about this on others. It's just very deceptive because unless you can really get an accurate view of the lifetime value of a customer, ROAS can be very deceptive because all you're thinking about is the immediate return, which is important. You need to look at it. But the lifetime value of a customer, and I keep trying to push and talk to different clients about, look at it, in a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. And it's really hard for certain businesses to do that. But
start talking to your customer's CFO and talk about lifetime value. That's probably where you're going to find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like nobody else seems to know, like you ask your direct client about lifetime value.
Then all of a sudden ROAS takes on a totally different meaning.
So talk to their CFO. They might be able to give you that number.
Yeah.
This has been good, guys. Our next conversation will be in a brand new year.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't look at the calendar, but
was that, we started a new decade. It's not a new decade, but yeah.
New year.
Awesome. Good.
Right.
Well, guys, have a Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Take some time off and rest, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah. From our family to yours, Merry Christmas. Thanks for being a listener. Thanks for being part of the community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.